It is time for another all-new episode of the Crowning Achievement, the show where we explore the ins and outs of some of your favorite esports personalities. My name is Fire Blaster again, and I'll be your host, taking you through this journey of different people, such as commentators, TOs, and the like. Today, we are going to have a very special guest. This is going to be the second big episode for the Crowning Achievement up to this point. We're going to go ahead and bring them on and see if they're available. Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All
All right.
right, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm going good. So today's guest is uh, being known for being a very solid commentator out of the East Coast, a great man in his own right, and also known for his exceptional knowledge of Kin, the player from Street Fighter. So please help me in welcoming our guest today, Hazmatt. Welcome to the
What's
show, Hazmatt.
up? Bro, thanks for the intro. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's one of those things
It's
we
great.
like to, make our guests feel welcomed. It's one of those things like I don't want to try to host the show and then our guests feel like they're not wanted on the show. So it's one of those things.
I'm
So
feeling pretty welcome, I gotta say. Did you want me to turn my camera on for this?
yeah, it's not completely necessary. I'm gonna have your voiceover. I'm still working out
Yeah.
kinks on how to get visuals of the other people. So maybe down the line, if there's a second interview along the lines, down the line we'll have that. But it's one of those things,
Cool.
with a new show.
I did my hair for this. What the heck?
All right. So we are gonna be we're not gonna be playing friendlies. Typically on the show we do friendlies, but I'm gonna just having the spectate smash on the background just a little bit, so it's a little bit different because I like to change things up. Let me get
There you go.
started. So how was the week for you, Haz?
Everything's good, man. It's a busy time in life, but it's good to be busy. I'd rather be busy than, sitting around doing nothing. So yeah, man, everything's good. Just got a lot going on here. Glad to be taking a little bit of a break from tournaments going. Obviously, home watching LTC this weekend. Excited to see how that bracket breaks down. But that aside, I'm pumped to get back out there and commentate my next tournament, whenever that is.
Right, yeah, and LTC is kind of going wild right now. Goblin, Dark Wizzy, and a couple other high-profile names already in losers out of pools. So, that's just wild. But we're not here to talk about LTC. We're here to talk about you. So let's go ahead and start with you, right? Your beginning.
Sure.
What region are you from currently?
Cool. Yeah, so I live in the Boston area, so I'm New England and have been for almost 10 years now, which is crazy. Moved to the area about 8-9 years ago. I'm originally from upstate New York, so I got to shout out them. Shout out Capital Region Smash. It's a great region. It's where I kind of grew and started, and then moved to Boston for a job opportunity, and haven't looked back since. So shout out to I love both my home regions very much. So upstate New York and Boston or New England respectively. So yeah.
That's what's cool. Up to this point, with Crowning Achievement, for any of you at home that haven't seen the show, we've had some kind of mid-level people on the show. We've had some high-profile people up to this point. They've been from all over the place. We've had Arbiter, who was West Coast. We had your boy Koopa was on the show here recently. He's from East Coast, and then we had Cac, who's from France, but previously Florida, goes to Texas a lot, so it's one of those things we were trying to spread our base of who we get on the show. So it's one of those things,
That's funny because Cac, he moved from France to New England. Actually, he was a Boston guy as well. He did weeklies, and he was a competitor first, but then he moved to the Boston area and then to Florida. To kind of pursue his dream of becoming a TO, which he's done really, really well. So Cact is great. Known him since he was a little teenager running around playing Little Mac and causing all sorts of upsets to where he is now. It's great to see someone who he had the vision all along, And for a lot of people, you never know if that vision's going to work out, but he always, he never lost sight of that. So shout out to Cac, man. He's great. Real passion for the scene. Love to see him where he is now.
Yeah, and it's one of those things when you see somebody that has an ambition like that and want to pursue it, like, some people just lose that drive eventually. They're just like, I'm not going to do it no more, like, kind of thing. Like, they get heartbroken, something doesn't go their way, and they just go, let's not do it no more. So,
right.
That's cool. How long have you been going to events? Like, are you like a Brawl vet? Are you a Melee vet? Like Smash 4, Ultimate?
Yeah. Brawl was my real first competitive game for Smash that I got into. I mean, as a kid, I used to go to Third Strike tournaments for Street Fighter, so that was the first real dive into the FGC and live events that I really got into. So, yeah, I've been doing it for, I would say, a little while here, to be fair. But yeah, Brawl was the first real Smash game that I started taking seriously competitively. I played Melee, but, not like didn't get super into it or anything, but it was, obviously one of the best games of all time, so yeah.
Yeah, I wish I kind of would have found the scene back then, because I think that that would have been cool experiencing the Brawl days and everything like that. So
yeah,
but nope, didn't happen. But we live on. What inspired you to start in esports?
It kind of just snowballed. Like, didn't really know where it would go or where I would end up, but I just really loved the games that I was playing and wanted to kind of take them to the next level. And I liked the process of trying to improve and get better at something, looking up videos on how to play certain matchups or certain tech and how to apply them to beat people. And it's just the classic Smash story where you start off in a group of your friends and you start to play more. And as you get through, you play with them more and more, you get better, and it's like you kind of outgrow that scene, so you try to find the next thing and move on and get better. And then it's like your local scene, regional scene, all that good stuff. So it was always like the process of improving was really great, and I just love the games too. Like, I've always been a competitive guy, and playing the games has been really important. So yeah,
that's cool. That's cool. Everybody starts from somewhere. Right? Everybody starts, and then have goals. What are you? This is one of the key questions so far in the interview. Is what are you known for up to this point in your career? Like,
oh jeez. Have you seen a video called Hazmatt making Mars look foolish? I'd say that's up there. Tweak Talks has. It's funny because, and Charles and I talk about this all the time. Shout out to Charles. We've been commentating and playing since Brawl, since Smash 4, all this stuff, especially him. Like, he moved over here to kind of, from Hawaii to pursue esports and Smash full time. So we've always been commentating and playing and all this stuff for years and years and years. Anytime someone sees us at tournaments, it's always, hey, you're Tweak Talks guy. It's like, yep, that's us now. So Tweak Talks is a big part of it, which I love. It's one of my favorite things that I do. And I've always loved podcasts. I've been listening to them for years and years and years. And I don't want to be, no hipster stuff here, but I have been listening long before they were they blew up big. I knew about them, and I've always wanted to do a Smash podcast. So I was very happy that I'm able to do one with like 3 of my really good friends and people I really like talking about Smash with. So I'd say Tweak Talks. I was power ranked in New England in Smash 4. So I think I'm a good player. I still play Ultimate a good amount. I think I do. I think I could do pretty well if I played Ultimate in a major bracket. I don't know how good. I don't know what that means, but I think what I'm known for, and commentating, obviously, commentator, player, Tweak Talks podcast, Hazmatt making Mars look foolish, etc., etc. I think it's it.
Yeah, it's one of those things cool to see, dipping your toes in multiple things, being what is called the Renaissance, an era or a Renaissance man. It's one of those things. A word that kind of get just pushed to the side nowadays. That if you're a player, a commentator, stuff like that, it makes you a more well-rounded person altogether.
Definitely, and I always liked playing. Like, that was how I got into the scene, right? And as I branched out and started, I started commentating at New England because I remember my original scene didn't even have commentary. Like, they didn't have a stream setup or anything. So when I went to New England, I was a big fan of obviously TK and Coney and Phil, EE, and all those guys doing it at VGBC, watching them every week. And I was like, that's cool. I think that's something I could get into. And as I started commentating more and playing more, New England as a scene, shout out to them again, I can never thank them enough, but they always had my back and always said, believed in me and said I was a good commentator and that I should, go for it and really try to make something happen with it. And I found some pretty good success with it. So it was, a lot of it was just encouragement from my region and also just them vouching for me and trying to get me, good commentary slots and stuff, which is a very competitive and tough field. Honestly, it's very, there aren't many, you look at a major, 8-10 people get hired for it or whatever. So it really makes a big difference when you have a lot of people behind you, which New England did a million% for me. So shout out to such a great region. Shout out to New England.
Yeah, New England seems like a cool place. I've been wanting to, for the summer last year, I had this ambition that I was going to go to a bunch of different regions and try to get my name out there a little bit more, but money just kind of like bodied me, so I couldn't do that. But there's definitely plans in the future, so one of those things. We're going to go ahead and play a game. You like games, right?
I do.
Okay, cool. All right, so there's a timer that just appeared on my screen. You're going to have 2 minutes, right? In these 2 minutes, I'm gonna give you 18 characters. You're gonna give me your opinion on if the character is underrated, overrated, or kind of like, the Goldilocks kind of thing, just right. So that's basically what is gonna happen.
I like it.
So we're gonna go ahead, and whenever you're ready, we'll start.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So first one's Bowser.
Ooh, I think a little. He's rated. I think at one point he was a little overrated, but now I think he's fine. I also value him pretty high, so I think he's rated well.
All right, Fox.
Can I say underrated? Just a little bit?
Yeah.
Just a little. Actually, well, it depends on who you're talking to, but some people think Light carries the character. He's not that good, and other people think Fox is actually gross, and it's kind of underplayed how he is. And I kind of. Light does carry, but I also think Fox is a little underrated. Very, very strong character.
Cloud.
Underrated. Incredible character, in my opinion. Like, I think a lot of people value him high, but he might be even higher.
Sheik.
Underrated.
Yeah, that's easy. Peach.
Overrated, I would say. I think a lot of people overvalue her strengths and don't put too much into her weaknesses.
Mario.
Underrated. I think people forgot how good this character is.
Wario.
Ooh. It depends on who you ask, because Wario players hate their character. They think he's trash, so he's better than what they think. But for the general population, I think he's rated, like that high-tier type area everyone would put him in.
Luigi.
Overrated, thanks to Elegant carrying the character quite a bit. Good character, but just, again, glaring weaknesses.
Bowser Jr.
Rated. He's not very strong.
Lucina.
Underrated only a little bit, though.
Joker.
I'd say rated because most people have him in that top 2-3 spot, which I agree. Top 1, 2, 3.
ZSS.
No comment. Move on. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'll say. I think she's a little underrated, honestly. I think she fell off. She did fall off, but I think that people are valuing her too low right now. She's very good still.
Well, it looks like we ran out of time. You weren't able to get through all of them, which is understandable. One of those things. New segment.
We can finish it.
We're gonna finish, but you got through. Let's see. So you got Bowser, Fox, Cloud, Sheik, Peach, Mario, Wario, Luigi, Lucina, Bowser Jr., Joker, and ZSS is the last one. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You had 6 more characters. So I mean that's not bad. That's not bad. The last time we did something special on the segment was Koopa, and I gave him prominent players. So you got characters and you got prominent players. It's something I'm gonna move around, try to change up a little bit here and there, and see how it sticks. So your next character would have been Samus.
Underrated.
That's a fair one. Then Terry would have been the next one.
Rated. I think people know where he is.
Kazuya.
Underrated.
Steve.
Underrated. Underrated.
Yeah, I was gonna say, a lot of people don't like him because of his campy playstyle, but
they hate him and they say Steve mains are carried, which I think, in terms of character strength, I think people are on the right path, but I think he's even crazier than people think. But that's just me.
Piranha Plant.
Rated. That character's just, you know, it is what it is. Actually, a little underrated, but only by a couple spots. Just a little. Like, I think that character's a little better than people give Plant credit for.
And the last one was going to be Ken.
I think he's rated well. I think just like Terry, he kind of falls in the same bucket where people know where he stands. Very, very high strengths. Weaknesses are tough to work through, but very good character, in my opinion. Strong character.
And so we had some fun, right? You know, with everything, there's always a positive and negative, right? You know, there's always two things to it. I've not not paying attention to the spectate smash. There's just been rolling while we were playing the game. So I'll get that to going again. Ew. Samus, Fox, or Pikachu?
Wait, Samus, Fox, or Pikachu what?
And it's in the spectate smash.
Oh, you're going to pick Samus, of course.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're going to pick Samus. That's a consistent pick right there.
Right. Yeah, it's online. So, with the positives, we always have negatives. So, obviously, there was a lot of headline stuff that had been happening with Smash during COVID. So, what are some of the things that you would want to change, in your opinion, about the community and how things currently are in the current meta?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question, honestly. I think we talked a lot about it in terms of HBox had that tweet kind of about the money in the scene and doing really well at a major tournament only nets you so much, and increasing the venue fees or increasing the money that comes into the scene is great. I think really what we need is, even if that solution does come through, if we do start charging more for brackets or for venue fee, whatever, what I'd like to see is real organization, like real agreement on where that money should be going or where we should be investing as a scene. You know, players obviously deserve payout, but tournaments run a lot deeper than that. There's not just even TOs, there's, you know, volunteers. I mean, volunteer, obviously, it's implied there's no pay, but at the same time, if you could do a little something for them, that's great, or even feed them. There's the production, too. People never talk about production enough. Staff, commentary, all that stuff. I think in general, our scene needs to take, you know, a step back and kind of get a look at the bigger picture before we press forward and do anything. And it's kind of like that whole thing broke out, and people were like, oh, we should charge more for brackets, or no, we shouldn't. And I was like, all right, where's the math? Like, you guys are just saying things here. Like, yeah, we should or we shouldn't. It's like, all right, no one did the math. All right, I guess, all right, I'll do the math. So I did the math, and I was like, dude, wouldn't have made that much of a difference at the particular tournament HBox was talking about. Just because there were a lot less entrants than there normally are in big tournaments like that. It was just a top-heavy tournament. When you look at a tournament like Genesis or something, it can add quite a bit substantial to the pot, but it's like, do we really want to just be putting it towards the pot, which is great because, in my opinion, you know, players deserve to get paid for what they do, plus it's a bigger and better storyline in some ways, which I always appreciate as a commentator, but the scene isn't just built off of top talent, which I think is really important to remember. That goes everywhere. TOs, players, commentators, they're all, at some point in life, replaceable. You know, it is what it is. So I think what we need is, rather than just looking for, and I think it's good to start asking questions and seeing where we can get more out of the scene. And I definitely think it's a good way, like a good kind of fire starter to a question. But I think the more important question is, even if we do this, we implement the solution, what does it mean? Where does that money go? And what does that kind of look like? And I'd just like to see more transparency and more of a plan in place to follow up on those questions. So kind of a loaded answer there, but that's just what I would like to see. And I think that's like how a lot of problems could be solved in the scene, but you know.
Yeah, affirmative action. You know, we gotta have a game plan to go forward with it and see how it pans out, because, you know, it's one of those things with not having a lot of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of data. There it is. The data that for backing things up. You know, we might do it, but the numbers might do it, or we might do it and the numbers might grow. Like, it's one of those things we have to do affirmative action in order to see what we're working on. So
right.
That's a great question and a great answer to that. Let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit more about you. Do you have anything like super cool coming up that you want to divulge to the community or anything like that?
Oh, man. You know, not a whole lot going on. I am getting married in July, so I'm pretty excited about that, I guess you could say.
Okay, so that's a big thing we could talk about, yeah.
A little bit, yeah. We don't have to get too into it, but I'm obviously very excited, and it's going to be great. That aside, I mean, life is just good right now. Like I said, everything is just so busy and trying to keep up with, work and Smash and friends. And it's just, I think a lot of what I've tried to learn through Smash and just life is how to balance it all, right? I always say that you go to a job interview and they always say, what's, the typical question that they'll ask you is, what's one of your biggest weaknesses, right? Which is a tough question to answer because you don't want to be throwing yourself under the bus too much, but you don't want to come off like you're too egocentric where you can't admit that you have flaws as a human. And the one I always go to is that I feel like I burn the candle on both ends, right? Like I'm always trying to have fun and I do my Smash stuff and I'm at home, I'm with my wife and with my dog and my friends, and it's just there's so much going on that sometimes I think it's important to take a step back and take care of yourself. Sometimes is something I've learned.
That's cool. You have to have that balance. Like you don't want to.
Exactly.
My parents and my grandparents always used to tell me you don't want to burn the wick at both sides.
It's tough. It's hard not to though.
The candle reference, like if you burn the wick having too much fun, then when it comes serious time, you can't do it. Or the exact opposite, if you're too serious all the time, too much, then you kind of force yourself into a corner. So
you never relax, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's good sentiment to live by. I'm also gonna ask you. So you said you were part of Shoutouts, obviously. Great.
I am, yeah.
What were some of your experiences and stuff you've covered up to this point you feel like were good topics, or anything that stick out in those conversations you guys have had up to this point?
It's fun. Yeah, one of the dynamics I love that we have is that since we've all been, good friends for a while at this point, is that we're very open to disagree with each other and kind of get dramatic with each other, over silly points about character placements or tournament results or whatever, and kind of just rip on each other a little bit, but also be willing to have it happen back to you. So one of my favorite things is just the banter that we get into. I love when Charles goes on his rants. I think that's one of our signature things, which is funny. And then I also think that we have a lot of good rapport between the four of us, and like a lot of good little kind of inside jokes that have developed over time that we all have fun with. Like and we say to each other, even off camera and everything, we say to each other all the time. And probably my favorite thing we've done so far is, this was always a dream that we had, but we did a live episode of Genesis where, and shout out to Medify for hooking it up because they let us do it at their booth, and Beast Coast because Beast Coast did the audio, which is great. Two companies helping us out a lot. What they did is they set up a booth and we were on a couch, and it was our 51st or 52nd episode, something like that. But we just had a Q&A where people could come up and ask us questions about competitive Smash or the podcast or whatever, really. We had a guy come up who was actually player 4, shout out to Reggie, ask us about our favorite One Piece character, which I've never seen before, so I felt pretty excluded. So not nice, actually. I felt like, this is a bad question. Everyone else loved it, but I had a terrible time. I was like, I don't know. Whatever, man. Naruto. I don't know what the answer is. But anyway, so that was one of my favorite things is we did a live show, and we were honestly a little nervous for how it was going to turn out. You never really know, because it'll be a Q&A. We're like, dude, what if no one shows up? This is going to be so embarrassing, We're just going to sit there. I was like, we'll have fun no matter what, right? Because it's the four of us. We'll have fun. We'll sit there and we'll answer our own questions. We kind of goofed around, but it went I'm very happy to say that it went very well. And we had a line of people the whole time, and it was just really nice to meet people and have them say that they like the podcast. Because sometimes, any content creator, you'll know this, is that sometimes you're out here kind of doing your thing and you don't receive a lot of feedback. But when you're there, and similar to why one of the things I love about the Smash scene so much is you have to be there in person. And when you're there in person, you get that real feedback, good or bad, and a way to improve or a way to feel good about yourself or a way to kind of say, here's the next step I need to take, is to be there and see people and kind of go through that. So it was nice, especially since we transitioned off of doing the shows live on Tweak's stream, because we lost that connection with the crowd just a little bit. Obviously still talk through Twitter and all that good stuff, but doing it live, it was really nice. I think we all felt really, really good about the result of that, and we all feel really good about podcasts. We put a lot of work into it, and it's really nice to see people receive it well. So
that's cool. So I like to implement new things on shows, so you're gonna be my guinea pig for this segment. So we're basically, what my goal for this show is to have a couple featured people or players or commentators each month, and you were definitely one of the highlights of this month. Was you and Kat. The first month of me seriously doing this show, you guys were the highlights. So next month, right, we have our first person that's going to be highlighted is somebody who's just recently came into the community, like big major community, right, was Icon. What are your thoughts on Icon up to this point, and what are your thoughts and feelings about the players themselves?
That's a great question. I could talk about Icon for a while here. Great guy. I actually met him at Genesis right after he went on his run. Got, I think, 9th or 13th or whatever he got. Yeah, amazing run. Yeah, so everything at the end of that day at Genesis just blurred together, like 13th, 9th, you know, 17th, whatever. It's just all, so many rounds happened so fast. It was actually really interesting because you only see the stream. If you're only there watching the streams, you only can look at the bracket, obviously, to get off-stream updates and see if the commentators do anything with, you know, on-stream stuff. But you're not there to experience it. The crowd, like, Aaron was popping off and, like, taking so many sets off of amazing players. He went on a hell of a losers run after getting sent there so early. So one thing that's why those things blur together. But anyway, back to Icon. He, amazing person. So we met the day after. NorCal actually has this really cool bar venue where the pre-weekly was held at. I can't remember, the name's on the tip of my tongue, but it was a great venue. It was, you know, nice California weather. You had the doors open all the time, like letting fresh air in. Tons of setups. They had good food, good drinks, all that good stuff. And I was with, you know, a bunch of people. I was with Marcus actually and a bunch of other friends.
Right.
And I saw Icon, and I walked up to him. I said, "Hey, Icon, what's going on?" And he was like, "Oh my God." He's like, you know, we've known about each other because I'm like the fighting game guy commentator, and he's obviously Icon. So we started talking, and he was just the most, you know, he's like the nicest guy. He was so genuine, and I said it on Tweet Talks, but it's like, you kind of, when you see him play or when you see him kind of on stream, you think that, like, he kind of gives off that vibe, like he's such a super nice, genuine guy, and I'm happy to report that it's true. Like, you meet him in person, and he was just really pleasant to talk to, like a good listener, and like really nice. He was great. He's going to school in Chicago. Really great Ryu player, which I love to see, obviously, and, you know, super nice guy and a hard worker, all that good stuff, man. I'm a huge fan, and he does, and I'll shout him out again. He does a podcast actually with Apollo Kage, if you know him. Really good Snake player. So the two, everyone knows AK at this point. Really great players and great guys. I don't think I've met Apollo Kage yet, but I like his Twitter, and he seems like a good guy too. But I know Icon is, so definitely check out their podcast. And he's a great addition to the scene.
Uber discussion, yeah. So, which is funny that you bring up the podcast. So, I know AK because he came to our tournament, because I'm Kansas and he's Missouri. So he's came to our tournaments quite a few times. And I actually knew AK's brother well before I knew who AK was. So,
oh, wow.
Which is funny. His brother is Quilly Koopa out of St. Louis.
Gotcha.
So I met Quilly Koopa years and years ago, and then, like, I heard of AK, and it was funny because we're having a conversation with somebody at a tournament, and I'm like, yeah, I just met this AK guy, you know, he's pretty cool. And I'm like, he's St. Louis, but he seems familiar to me. And they're like, you know why he seems familiar, right? I'm like, no, I have no idea. And they're like, that's Quilly Koopa's little brother. I'm like, no way. Like, there's no way that's Quilly Koopa's little brother. And then, like, sure enough, I was at Riptide and talking to Quilly Koopa, and he's like, yeah, that's my little brother. And then, like, you just see Quilly Koopa, like, popping off when he played Tweak in the back room, which... that made St. Louis really mad. So if you don't know St. Louis, which I don't know if you do has or not, but like St. Louis.
I don't.
Okay, so when St. Louis players play, right, it's Luma, you know, has AK, Quilly, you know, those big name players. They come in hordes. Like, you be playing them, and you'll just look behind you, and there's like 30 people behind you, like, screaming for their player, which is cool. But yeah, like, they were mad because Tweak requested to play on the back stream, and they couldn't do that. But that was one of those things. But shout out to AK and Icon, both great guys. They're actually both gonna be on the show eventually. AK was supposed to be last week, but some unfortunate things happened, and thoughts and prayers go out to your family, AK and Chili Koopa. But like, one of those things. And yeah, Icon's gonna be next week, so that's gonna be fun. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do probably the funnest. I would say personally my favorite question of the show, and the headliner of why I'm doing this whole thing, like the reason why I put this on all together. So everybody that's in my community knows that I'm a K. Rool player, right? I've been a K. Rool player since day one, and obviously, what's the best thing that he uses as a neutral? Is crown, right? So the word, the headline of it is the crowning achievement, right? Something golden you put on top of your head. What is your crowning achievement? That could be a specific that you commentated for, players, a big tournament you got to do that you weren't expecting, something unexpected that became, your top end thing. It could be that, like, something that you could just rest your head on, knowing that, like, hey, this is what I did. Like, this is my crowning achievement. Like, this is my crown jewel. Like,
sure,
and what would that be for you?
I'd say probably the most important theme throughout my time in Smash is, to be honest, like the stuff outside of the game. It started with my really good college buddies who are all still, my best friends in the world. I love those guys. They moved on from the scene, quite a while ago, but they keep up with the tournaments and watch and ask me how they went, and they like to talk about the players and all that. They become spectators, which is great. I love talking to them about it. It's really actually a really cool and unique perspective that I get from them. But so it kind of started with just being about the people and being about friends. And as I stopped playing with my buddies from college and started making friends in the New England scene, I really started to learn to care about some of these people. And it kind of became long-term and really good friends, and just watching them kind of succeed and do their thing has probably been the most important thing to me. The longer I go on, the more kind of players and people I start to care about their success, and it gets hard to watch tournaments once it hits like a top 64, because it's like, man, I don't want either of these players to lose, but they're seeded to play each other. And so I'd say the most important thing to me is just like the long-term friendships and relationships I've developed and made through Smash, and just learning to hang out and see different perspectives and walks of life through Smash is something I think is incredible. It's been really important. There are a lot of people who I would have never met if it wasn't for Smash, and I would have never learned a lot from them, and all that good stuff. So I'd say that's the most important thing to me, to be honest. It's not like a specific set or anything, but I mean, coming up to my wedding, a lot of really good people, a lot of my friends who were invited are from Smash, and a lot of my wedding party are my friends that initially got me into it. So, very important to me.
That's cool, like, the sentimental kind of thing, like, you keep your community behind you regardless of, what goes on. That's something a lot of people don't want to do, especially when, they hit it like you did, because, like, you were, like, this smaller commentator from a region that didn't really, at the time, have a huge player base. Like, they had their top players, but that was about it. And now that, like, you've gotten majors, and then like that contested like one of the top 5 or 10 commentators in the game, you still have that like family base where you like family and friends are first, regardless of how far I get. Like, and that's cool, because people that be like, hey, I made it, now I'm gonna drop you. Like, I don't talk to you like kind of thing, like, because you're better, and that's cool to hear. What we don't look like right now, we're gonna go ahead and this would be the position where we would do the questions and answers from our fans and our Twitter community. It didn't look like we had any from our Twitter, so I'm gonna open it up to our Twitch chat at this time. If they have anything to ask, they can go ahead and ask it at this time. But if we don't get anything, that's not that big a deal. I'm going to go ahead and ask my next question, and then if there's anything, we'll interject it at that time.
All right.
So do you have any advice for new players fans, casters, competitors out there that maybe you have some future insight to help those people get along the way they want to go?
Yeah, for all, I mean, obviously, you know, they're all pretty different in terms of what you're looking to get out of it, but I'd say the number one thing across the board is just always be willing to learn. For a player, always be willing to play and ask questions and get through a set. And same thing with commentators. Like, to me, I don't know how there's some commentators that don't really play, you know, a whole lot or barely think about the game. And, you know, some of them are really great commentators too, which is awesome. But I always think, for me personally, I have to be playing to be able to be in a good mindset to talk about the game. So I think the number one thing is just always be willing to learn. Like, take a loss is like, it's a result, but it's also an opportunity. Like, if you take an L, it's a good opportunity to ask questions and get better. Because if you lose, there's clearly something you could be doing better. There's not an infinity solution. That means you can never win under these circumstances. There's always something you can be doing better. Trust the process and, you know, grind really hard. And there are a lot of people who, just through sheer will, have put themselves in good spots in the community through working hard, through their gameplay, or commentating a shitload, doing a lot of online events, or doing a lot of weeklies in person, and doing all that stuff, and just really being on the grind. And people recognize and respect that, and then, you know, opportunities make themselves for you. So, and never be afraid to ask for help, I think, is such an important thing. If you're not understanding something, or you need some better direction, people like to be asked for help. It makes them feel appreciated, and it's a good way to make connections with people. So that'd be some of my advice.
Yeah, that's actually also pretty good advice. You know, a lot of times people get discouraged really easy. So, like,
oh, definitely.
That's one of those things. Like, don't get discouraged. Keep doing what you're doing. Like, it might not be getting eyes because, you know, it wasn't a big enough event, or it might not be getting eyes because, you know, you didn't publish it enough, or there's just little nuances here and there that you guys, you know, will find throughout the time that you stick with.
Yeah.
It to get there.
That and like, and I'm not gonna say like that. It's easy advice to say, you know, but there are times still, and obviously, probably more in the beginning stages of trying to find a footing in commentary. It was a lot harder, but even now, like, I experience frustration still. It happens, you know. Like, there's times where I don't get an event, or, you know, it's not gonna pay enough, so I have to pass, and, you know, whatever. It's just, at a certain point, like, just know that those frustrations are things that everyone goes through, or those setbacks, everyone has to deal with those, no matter how high up on the totem pole you get. Same with players. I mean, look at Leo. Leo just went through a streak where he wasn't performing, which is, I mean, getting second and third place, but that's still low for his standards, you know? Like, it still is going to happen, and it doesn't matter who you are. The second Leo didn't win a tournament, people on Twitter started talking shit. It's the same thing with anything, you know? The second that you're not, you know, you're not feeling good, or you don't hit your expectations, there's always going to be people talking shit, and there's always going to be ways for you to improve and to bounce back. But, you know, again, it's all about learning how to take an L, learn from it, and grow. So,
well, that's a cool sentiment. So didn't look like we got any questions coming through Twitch, which is fine. Let's go ahead and this is like the highlighting segment for you. So what kind of future events do you have coming up? Anything that you can announce at this time? I know earlier you said you didn't, like, there are a couple things, but, like, anything that you in particular that you're looking forward to, or?
Yeah, I am. Rise and Grind CAC's own event. CAC and Grayola. Got a shout out to Grayola too. Rise and Grind coming up in August. In Texas too, which I'm excited for because they're going to have barbecue right on site, which Texas barbecue is some of my favorite food in the world. So I'm very excited for that event for several reasons. So, and it's good. Like, it's really cool because, like, as I was working to become a better commentator, CAC was working to become a better TO. So once he was starting or heading his own major, he reached out to me and asked me if I'd cast for him. And I was like, dude, this is great. This is really nice. So it was a good little kind of closed loop there. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, which is crazy because, you know, CAC runs Heartbeat as well, and I'd been trying to go out to Heartbeat for a long time, and then I was at Lua, and he's like, hey, what are you doing in May? So he invited me to go out to Heartbeat, so I'll be commentating that event myself, and which is funny, because I look forward to Rise and Grind, because I plan on going out to that as well, so we'll chat it up there as well. Do you
Cool.
have any shout outs or anything you'd like to promote at this point?
Yeah, shoutouts to my dog. He's really cute and he's a good boy, and I love him very much. But and you know, also got to shout out the whole family, I guess, the cat, and also my soon-to-be wife. All three of them very supportive, and I miss them very much when I travel for majors. So appreciate everything they do for me. But that aside, shoutouts to anyone who's helped me in Smash. I think that's a good kind of theme to stick with. Whether it's my friends, you know, being honest with me and giving me feedback that I need in the direction I need to go and helping me out that way, or it's people who support me and, you know, tell me when I do a good job as well. Appreciate them. Appreciate all that stuff.
Well, that's awesome. Where can we find you at? Like socials?
Okay. Oh boy, here we go. All right. Twitch and Twitter. It's Hazmatt Rules, HazmatRules. That's Twitter and Twitch. The YouTube is just youtube.com/Hazmatt, which is, I don't know how that was available, but I grabbed it. So there's that, and that's just about it. Yeah, and Tweak Talks, of course, and that's it.
Where do we find Tweak Talks?
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's on Spotify, and it's also on Tweak's YouTube channel, which I think is just youtube.com/TweakSSB, if I remember correctly. It's not /Tweak. That's a different human. Let me see. I'm pretty sure it's Tweak SSB. I don't know. Tweak, YouTube, Smash. Let's see what it says. I Tweak G, actually. I did not know that. And also his pinned YouTube video is the best of 2020. We're missing 2 years of content, Tweak. What's going on? Come on, man. Sheesh.
I know he's had some of his own personal struggles.
I'm just kidding. Yeah,
But,
just ripping on my buddy a little bit. He's good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously uploading. He's doing great. So
yeah, he's that Tweak Talks. That's like obviously when you have a top player, you know, people flock to him. So it's one of those things. So thank you again, Hazmatt, for being on the show. It's a little shorter than what I wanted, but you know, it's one of those things. I wanted to tell you honestly. So like, I always have these little personal sentiments at the end of these shows. And so for you, honestly, you were one of the commentators in Smash 4 that I looked up to.
In Smash 4? Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like...
An OG fan.
Yeah, like, so when I started commentating in Smash 4, right, I started at a small local. And, like, I watched you. It was you, Charles, and somebody I don't want to speak about anymore because they're not part of the community anymore. But definitely one of those things, like, I was like, well, this guy seems like he's from a smaller community and got his own grind on and doing what he wants to do. So I was like, I could do it too. So, like, I wanted to tell you that. As since you were on the show, I was like, you know, hey, you know, you're one of my inspirations to get. I haven't made it yet. Like, I'm still at the regional level, but, you know, I'm still grinding and trying to get better. So it's one of those things, like, you inspired me. So.
I really appreciate that. That's really nice. And I think, too, like, a good mindset to have is that the grind is never over. Whether, you know, I don't think I've made it, and I don't think the commentators above me feel like they've made it either. You know, I know that EE, TK, Coney, like, they're always looking to do more and to branch out and to do more stuff. It's always, like you said, it's about the grind and about staying on it. So I really appreciate that, man. That's awesome. The Smash 4 callback, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, like back when I first started, which I've kind of got stagnant a little bit here in the past year, would be going back and finding locals and weeklies and stuff for all these different communities and seeing how commentators make each commentary set their own. Like, each person has their own thing. And I was like, well, I'm going to have to make my own. Granted, you know, being autistic and having a tone-deaf voice is kind of hard sometimes, but, like, yeah, like, you
can make it work. Anything can work, you know, as long as you are, you know, really being yourself, being true to it, and being passionate about, you know, the game or what you're talking about. I think anything can work, man, of course.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, that's going to be it for the crowning achievement today. A great episode. Enjoyed every minute of it. Appreciate your time and effort going in and being a part of this. My name's Fireblaster. You can find me on Twitter at Fireblaster65. I'm going to go ahead and put my YouTube channel in there. You'll see Hazmatt's episode on the YouTube probably about next week. I still have to do Kirby Kids and I think Koopa's.
Oh, nice.
But they should be all dropping about the same time. But thanks again for everybody that showed up. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and we'll see you around next week for the debut episode of next month, which will be on Tuesday. So we'll have Last, Censored, and Icon, and Knuckles up next week. So hope you all will come back, enjoy yourself, and have yourself a fantastic rest of your weekend.
Thanks, Fire Blaster. This was great. Thanks, man.